All right, so today's video is going to be on the Zhiyun Crane 2 servo follow focusing system. I'm going to walk you through what you get in the package, and then I'm going to show you how to install it on your Crane 2 to get up and running for the very first time. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and crack into this really nice case that you get. I will say that it comes in a box before you get this, but who cares about the box? You can see this case is going to give your follow focusing system a bit of protection, but not a whole lot because it is soft. Getting into the case itself, just one zipper around the side, and then you're presented with your follow focusing system, the servo. Before we take a look at that, up in the top here, you're going to get two follow focusing system belts to attach to your lenses and all the included cables, as well as an Allen key. So you get two of these to attach to your lenses. These geared teeth here will allow you to attach to pretty much any lens out there. These are pretty large, and you get two of them. And then you get the communication cable between the Crane 2 and the servo follow focusing motor. And you get this Allen key for installation. And I think that's it for there. You get this bar here that allows you to attach it to the Crane's tilt motor via this little threaded bolt here. So after you attach this 15mm rod, you are able to attach the servo motor to it and make adjustments. So you can see here it's really nice machined metal or aluminum. It's really light, and then you got a plastic gear. So you're gonna wanna be careful with this geared motor here because this is plastic. There is a tendency that you could possibly strip some of these teeth out. So just be very careful with this part here. Around the back, there's really nothing. Around this side of the follow focus is the communication port between the camera and the follow focus. Then you got this switch here that's a normal and an upgrade. So if you want to upgrade the firmware, you just flip that down and then you're gonna plug it in. Power button, so you just hold that and turn it on. We'll turn it on here momentarily. And then down towards the bottom, you got this clearly labeled port that's Crane 2. So this is the communication port between the servo follow focus motor and the Crane 2's dial knob. And then I almost forgot these three LEDs here, which will communicate status to you of the follow focus. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get this installed on the Crane 2. The very first thing you're gonna wanna do is prep the 15mm rod, and it unscrews here. So you're gonna wanna take this part off so you can get access to the little Allen bolt in there. And to take a closer look at this portion, you can see that the Allen key rests inside there. And on this side, you're gonna see that it's not centered. So this is going to play an important role when we try to get it installed on the tilt motor arm here in a minute. So with that said, let's go ahead and take this Allen bolt out. All right, so here we are. You can see this threaded portion on the tilt arm of the Crane 2. It's a rather large thread, so you're not going to be able to thread the Allen bolt that was included with this part here on the 15mm rod. But you can see that the thread is not centered on this arm, and nor is the hole on this 15mm rod. So to make it match up, you're just going to kind of want to take a look at it, eyeball it, because it'll fit either way, but if you have it on upside down, it's not a clear flush hole to go through. And to get this installed, it's a little difficult to do. You're gonna wanna have the bolt, the tiny bolt that comes with this kit. As you put this bolt on the arm here, it will sit flush and it will hold as you tighten the Allen bolt with the included Allen key. It's gonna take a little bit of finagling on my part, so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to capture this on the video, but we'll take a look at it when it's finally installed. Okay, so I got it finagled in, and you're just gonna tighten it down, and it should just stay. You don't have to worry about any pliers or anything. This little 15mm rod mount is stuck in place until I want to take it off. And now that that's done, I can reinstall the extension tube to the 15mm rod. Now we're ready to get the camera balance and actually put the motor on, connect it to the crane, and all that type of stuff. A little bit of a disclaimer before we move on. You want to check your firmware on your Crane 2. So power it on, and you don't want to stay in this without the camera balance for too long, but you do want to make sure that you have the wheel selection available. If you don't, you're going to want to update the firmware on the Crane 2 before you continue. I'd hate for you to get your camera balance and all that type of stuff and then come to realize that the wheel portion is not there, because in previous versions of the camera or the Crane 2's firmware, the wheel is not available. Just be aware of that and take note of this before you move on. Before you balance your camera on the gimbal, you're gonna wanna put the belt for the servo motor onto your lens. I'm gonna do that here. You can see these little graduated teeth that hold it. Take this out of there. And the way that they ship this is really clever because all the teeth are faced inward and it protects them. Flip it around, tighten it down as much as you possibly can because you want it to be tight on there. And then from there, slide it in place. And you can double check it. I wouldn't recommend cutting this because in case you get a larger diameter lens that you want to use it on in the future, I would just leave it this way. I know it looks a little funky, but it also helps as a visual key for focusing without having to use any markup on the thing. So I would highly recommend that you kind of try to slide this towards the end on this side of the camera lens, because the servo motor is going to be on this side. You don't want it to catch before the limit is reached on the lens. So I'm going to make sure that this is on this end, or maybe all the way on towards the bottom of the lens before I get it balanced on the Crane 2. Before you do any of that, you want to make sure it's roughly what it needs to be when you're going to balance it. So you're going to want to get the motor and everything set in place. Now that you can see the servo motor is pretty much in its final position, I'm going to take the included connection cable, connect it to the port that says Crane 2, and then take it around, connect it to the tilt motor on the Crane 2. The tilt motor connection goes from there to the servo motor on the follow focus to the Crane 2 port. Now we can balance our camera. Okay, since we have everything on the Crane 2, it's all set up and balanced. It's turned off at this time. I want to talk about these indicator lights because they can be kind of confusing. This one all the way over here is the power indicator. The one in the middle is the firmware upgrade indicator. And the one all the way over here is a red light that will blink if it's showing a malfunction or something like that. It can get really confusing with the power indicator. The way Zhiyun's handling this notification is a little bit weird, and it's hard to kind of see what's going on with it. If I power this thing on, you'll see the different types of lights come on, and it'll also indicate what the power level is by blinking in a succession. So a quick one flash is less than 25%. If it quickly flashes 2 times, it's 25 to 50%, 3 times, 50 to 75%, and 4 times is 100%. And again, that can be really cumbersome and hard to kind of understand. So just make sure that you're aware of those different notifications of these indicator LEDs. If there's any gripe that I have with this system, it's the notification indicators. I wish they could do a little bit better job in letting you know what the level of battery life is left, or if it's in a certain state of malfunction. All right, so I'm sure you may have questions of how responsive this thing is communicating with the wheel on the crane itself. It's not zero latency, but it has enough latency that you can see that you can make pretty efficient adjustments. You can also adjust this speed in the menu system, but I found that the default system or the default setting works the best for me because it just works really well out of the box. I really didn't have to make too many adjustments to the camera system. Okay, so let's talk about the menu options that are available to you when you're using the servo motor. Heading on into the menu options. If you don't see wheel, like I said earlier, update the firmware on the Crane 2 and that option will be available to you. Hopping into those options, you can see you can set the sensitivity of the focus or the motor itself. I usually have this on low, which is the default, but when I'm using the Sigma 18 to 35, I found that the medium setting works the best. Going back one, you can see that you can set AB points on the servo motor. So this allows you to capture critical focus on the move rather quickly and more efficiently. And after you set those, you have to make sure that you go in and clear those out. The next thing is priority. This is for the remote that Zhiyun sells. If you're using the handle, which is this, and that's the default, just leave that alone. But if you're going to use an external remote, you set that and then you can turn it off altogether. And the final option is reversing the wheel direction. For me, more logically, to turn the wheel this way means to focus further, and to turn the wheel this way means to focus closer to me. And with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at some sample shots. I'm not going to be using the setup shown in this video. I want to use the Sigma 18 to 35 because that's a popular lens setup. If you're a current owner of the Crane 2 and you're considering purchase of that little motor, for $129, it's really hard to beat. It unlocks a whole different set of capabilities for your handheld gimbal setup. And it's worth it, in my opinion. If you're interested in pricing and availability, hit the affiliate links in the description of this video to see what's up. Before I close, I must disclose Zhiyun was kind enough to send me that servo motor to put this tutorial together for you. And without them, this video would not have been possible. Well, that about does it for me in this one. If you like this video, please feel free to give me a thumbs up. If not, you know what to do. Thank you for taking the time to watch. I am Tomas, and I will catch you in the next one.